I wanted to make a video or a series of videos on addiction recovery, salvation, Christianity, spirituality, I guess. But let's start with the start. Addiction. Are you an addict? So in a world where we are constantly Googling, am I this? Am I that? How do I know I'm this or that? You know, so I know people who use drugs on a weekend, drink or drugs, just a weekend. You know, so are they addicts? Are you an addict if you're like that? You know, I know people who might use drugs once a month even. So what I'm doing here is setting the bar low, really, because if you've been using for 20-30 years and you're injecting heroin, then I don't really need to convince you much. You won't take much convincing for me to sit here and say, stereotypically, or orthodox, the orthodox way of the street and therapy and all that is that if you're sticking needles in your arms and you've got to go and collect the needles from some provider, and you maybe you might be on methadone or something like that, and you've been queuing up at those places for the last 20 years, queuing up at chemists to get your kit, dealing with sin bins, needle boxes and stuff like that, and crack pipes and everything else, then you ain't gonna take that much convincing. Bearing in mind, it's not my job to convince you, but in a world where we Google, am I an addict? How do I know? How do I tell? Or this might even be a case of you're the wife of, the mother of, the father of, the son or the daughter of somebody who is displaying these characteristics. What is an addict? What is an addict? The alcoholic, for instance, in AA, so in CA, Cocaine Anonymous, 12 steps, they use the AA Big Book, and how they define what an alcoholic addict is somebody who may go a year without even touching. They might do, but when they pick up, they start a process that they can't stop. It's normally running out of money or crashing into a brick wall, blacking out, waking up the morning after and going, oh, that was bad. And then you just maybe getting on with their lives. So again, that's this minimal sort of, it would take that person to go, oh yeah, that's got some truth to it there, that for some reason something happens in my life. It's normally something to do with the thinking isn't straight, the thinking isn't working right, not seeing the world in a good way, I guess, and all of a sudden drinks and drugs seem like a good idea, even though the last time I got into it, it wasn't a good idea, because the money got burnt, relationships got hurt and destroyed, lost my job or something, I ended up homeless and stuff like that. But yet, again, it seems like a good idea for me to do that again right now. That's what they call the insanity in 12-step recovery groups like AA and NA and CA. That it's now a good idea, when really you should remember, right, that it ain't a good idea. It's because for most people, this ain't the first time. Yeah. So whether you're doing it every other day or whether you're doing it once a year, your memory, a straight, controlled memory should go, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Well, no, I've got some money. Should I? What do you think? No, this is what we go through now. Should we not? I could just have a bit maybe and all that. And the memory should go, whoa, no, what am I even thinking? Don't even go there. It's like, whoa, I can see that down the street. Didn't even have to think about it. I can just see it. No. But the alcoholic, the addict, gets into this sort of like it's almost like there's a lack of memory, a lack of remorse, a lack of awareness in those moments, and they're back on it again, right? So that's that 12-step thing. But the simplicity, the simple way of knowing, are you, well, there you go. I just explained really a good one, really, isn't it? That's why AA 12 steps can be productive, because once somebody realizes that, so let's take that away. Let's like, you don't want nothing to do with these groups. You're not willing to do therapy and sit in rooms and share your life with other people like that, right? But you know there's some sort of problem, but it's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think, possibly. But oh no, done it again. And it's like, well, I'm not stupid. I knew what I was doing. I knew how much I spent, and yeah. But still, is that what you want? Did you really want that? Is that what you really want for your life? Is that what you really, really want? Yeah. If you've got your grandma sat in front of you, or the person that you really look up to in your life, that might be just somebody on YouTube, because you don't have many people in your life. Do you really want to sit there and tell them the ins and outs of what you've been getting up to? Do you really want to, like, for instance, let's say you got a new hobby, for instance, or a new job, or a new partner, or a new house, or most people, if they're in a community, they got friends, or they got someone they look up to. When they're with that person next time, they would talk to them about it. They would explain, and if the person's willing to listen, they'll go into the details. Oh, music theory and all that's great. I'm loving it. And I learned this and I learned that. Or the house, it's awesome. We're going to do this next week in the back garden and all that. Yeah. So although there's moments when you really do desire, you want that fix, you hit that hit, whatever it is. But really, ask yourself the day after you've done it, is that what you really wanted? Is that what you really want for your life? And if you're in a position where you're doing it, even though a big part of you don't want to do it, it's not your preferred choice, a future choice, you could say. It's not your preferred option. Would you, if you was asked to go and speak to a bunch of young people tomorrow, would you add that onto the list of things that they could do in their future? Things that they could do. Would you? No, maybe not. So is it possibly something you really don't want to be doing? And if it's something that you really don't want to be doing, even though there's this strong desire and you end up doing it, that would suggest that you're some kind of addict. You may be addicted to that drug. Like what this is here is just plain simple English. Plain simple English. You're doing something that you can't stop. There's moments of having no control. This is why in AA step 1, my life was unmanageable. Yeah. Came to the understanding that my life was unmanageable. That's why that step's there. I can't remember the rest of the step right now, but it basically says my life is unmanageable. I realized that. So this stuff isn't really to be played around with. You might want to look out for my next video, because the next video I'm going to be talking about well, let me give you this scripture first. So this is Romans 12 verse 2 in the Bible. It's in the New Testament. For anybody who's like, whoa, Bible, what are you on about? It's simple, and this is what we call applicable. You can apply it to your life. It says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Now, that might not make a lot of sense to you, because you might be new to Bible or Scripture, and that's not why you're here, right? But my recovery, my life is based upon the word of Christ. I used to be a heroin addict for more than 10 years, heroin and crack, injecting the rubbish in my veins, in and out of prison. My life was a wreck. So that leads me on just to say my next video will explain the difference between rehabilitation, and even God may have brought you into that form of rehabilitation. But then there's a difference between rehabilitation from your addiction, between that and salvation. Two totally separate things, and they can overlap somewhat. I'll explain in the next video, so watch out for that. If you're interested about this stuff, then yeah, keep watching, and I'll be sharing. I'm not a professional, I'm not a counselor or anything like that. I've just been through the mill when it comes to addiction, and I've been away from it for the last 20 years, and I've seen a lot of battle in my own life, which still relates to the whole nature of recovery, the nature of because I'm a Christian, dealing with sin, conflict, the battles that go on in life, and dealing with people. I've had a few jobs and stuff, and done church for 20 years, a few different churches, and there's a battle. There's a battle for your soul. There is a battle for your soul. Yeah. I'll end with this. So Proverbs, I think it's 3 verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Trust not in yourself. If you're here watching this because you've got some form of addiction, drug addiction, then and you've basically caused a lot of destruction, and you a lot of years have gone, and you're dragging your backside around the carpet. Maybe that might be a good place to start. Lean not on your own understanding. Trust not in yourself. There you go. God bless.